Zelensky there, as we heard, saying that the counteroffensive is going slower than he would like. Is that the reality?
It was. Well, it's day 485 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation. The Russians did what they did always last night, and they fired 10 cruise missiles, Kh-101s and Kh-555s, into the west of Ukraine. They were all shot down. But Ukraine's counteroffensive has started. It's going to be slow. It's one of those operations where it's going to be deliberately slow, and they're going into sort of three areas, just north and south of Bakhmut. We were talking about Bakhmut all of last year. Between Donetsk and the Zaporizhia Oblast, so just south of Donetsk. And there's some unconfirmed reports that the Ukrainians have broken through some of the Russian defensive lines there. And then through Zaporizhia down to Tokmak, further in the south as they try and get in. And they're probing at the moment. They've taken approximately 113 square kilometres in the last couple of weeks. To put that into context, the Russians took 18 months to get about 5 kilometres in Bakhmut, so they're not doing too badly. And they're doing it without all the resources. When we look at what we did in the Gulf War, we had 1,400 aircraft that spent over 30 days attacking the Iraqi defensive positions before we went in the ground. Ukrainians went in the ground without any of that.
So that's strategy from Zelensky in that case?
It is.
Yeah, OK. And tell us a bit more about this attack on a Russian bridge, a Ukrainian attack on an important Russian bridge.
Well, yes, this was... here's a picture of the bridge. And it was an attack allegedly by a British Storm Shadow missile, which is designed to take out this sort of level of critical infrastructure. And this bridge itself was a very important logistic link, a ground line of communication between Crimea, where Russia's got an awful lot of its resources, and up into the occupied part of Ukraine. And the Chonar Bridge that's there, it's so important that, again, unconfirmed reports, but I have seen some good pictures of a pontoon bridge the Russians have built today underneath that to try and keep that line of communication open up to Melitopol. Because if that remained closed, then the alternative route is about double the length of time, and they've got the logistic convoys exposed to further Ukrainian artillery.
And then, of course, we've got this concern bubbling up. It's been bubbling up for weeks, months now, on the Zaporizhia power plant. Zelensky warning of a potential attack.
We do. And interestingly, putting it into context, President Zelensky warned about the attack on the dam across the Dnieper River for months beforehand and gave us warnings that it had been mined. And then the Russians have blown the mines, causing a massive environmental disaster in the area. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, again, there's been reports of the inside of it being mined for defensive purposes. You don't put mines inside a nuclear power plant, inside nuclear reactors for defensive purposes. But it shows that the Russians are not concerned about the environmental damage of what they're doing. So I think this is one where we need to watch very closely, and we need to take this potential threat very seriously.